September 30th as we record this now. For those that are listening tomorrow, it'll be the 1st of October. So welcome to spooky season. It's episode 145 of the Chasing Points podcast. Here again with Harrison and Sam. And before, actually, I'll ask you guys both first before I get to a part that I have to get to. But how are you gentlemen doing today?
Oh, it's back.
Yes.
Last week you didn't ask us how we were doing.
We had too much going on.
No, we got off on the complete wrong foot.
No, it was right foot.
No, it was the wrong. It was the wrong foot.
It's the right foot. High ankle sprain right foot though. It was all right. Okay.
We need a not necessarily for me. I feel like you two need like a corporate retreat. We need to get together.
We do not need a corporate retreat.
I pitched this 2 weeks ago.
Talked about it. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I think we need a retreat. Just some nice massages, spa, maybe.
Okay.
Just Sean's gonna be there then, so we don't need that.
Retraction. Maybe just like
redact that. Yep.
Maybe like some pizzas.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe we watch the Cardinals together and the Eagles.
We probably won't watch the Cardinals together.
Right, that's fair.
I don't want to see bad football. I don't even want to watch the Eagles. So we'll get to that too. But you gentlemen did not answer how you're doing.
All of our teams suck, huh? Cardinals, Eagles.
Yeah.
Jets.
Yeah. Jets.
Everybody sucks.
Everyone sucks.
Do you guys suck? Because I asked you guys three times now how you're doing.
No, man. Happy October almost. I'm good.
You've asked me why I didn't do it last week, and I've asked you
how are you doing, man?
How you're doing.
Yeah. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Okay, we can move on. We can
things could be better. Things could be worse. Speaking of worse, we'll start the show off with a sudden passing in Dikembe Mutombo, a Hall of Famer, and I'm going to run through some of the accolades first, but he passed away from fighting brain cancer, which I'm sure took a lot of us by surprise, and I seem to be, because I'm always on X seeing stuff, and I always send the group chat stuff before mostly they see it. And I saw it, and I just sat there for a little bit when I read it, that he passed from brain cancer, because I don't think anyone probably outside of his family knew that this was going on, or close friends. To hear that he passed at the age of 58, extremely young in age. Like, I thought I would have seen him be, even though he looked older, he was definitely not older in age. To see that this has happened for an 8-time All-Star, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year, the J. Walter Kennedy Citizenship Award, 3-time All-Defensive First Team, NBA 2-time NBA rebounding leader, and what we know him for, 3-time NBA block leader. I obviously he's in the Hall of Fame, as I mentioned, but I think one of the biggest parts of his legacy, which if you don't really pay attention to basketball like that, is not what he did on the court, is what he did off the court. And for that, you have one of the best players in NBA that was just a recent MVP in Joel Embiid, which went through that program in Africa and has shown the game to people in his region, in Africa in general, and have taught them the game properly. So I think that should be uplifted right along with his Hall of Fame legacy. Because he is absolutely influential for what him and the likes of Luol Deng, who is doing that now since he's still here, giving back to their communities and bringing that funding. So just wanted to take the time to thank the infamous finger wagger, Mr. No. Rest in paradise.
Absolutely. Well said. Huge ambassador for the sport. Just tremendous person, tremendous personality. I have, fond memories of him on the 76ers with my then favorite player, Allen Iverson, and that run they made to the NBA Finals against the Lakers. And I just love the way he played the game. I love what he represented for the sport, and it's a huge loss.
Yeah, no doubt. I saw the headline. It's cliche, but I mean, it truly applies. Larger than life. And, I don't recall how tall he was. I know he was a giant, but a gentle giant. And Adam Silver in his statement said on the court he was one of the greatest shot blockers and defensive players in the history of the NBA. Off the court, as a pop-up shows up, off the floor, He poured his heart and soul into helping others. There was nobody more qualified than Dikembe to serve as the NBA's first global ambassador. He was a humanitarian at his core.
Absolutely.
And, just nothing more to say. It was, what an awesome legacy.
Mutombo was 7'2".
Big guy.
Damn, yeah.
Yeah, pretty damn tall guy. As we start to segue away from this, what was really weird was to not see that Woj was one of the first people to write that, being that Woj is no longer at ESPN, which is a whole nother topic, which we can talk about later. But let's get into some football. Immediately, let's jump into some wins and some losses, dubs and some L's. Harrison and I both have the same person, Cliff.
Me too.
Kingsbury. Harrison, why do you have Cliff?
Well, obviously the storyline is obvious with him going back to Arizona, the team that fired him, and basically just decimating the Cardinals defense. The game was close to start, a little back and forth offensively, and then the Commanders just took hold and really passed away with the win. So just huge dub for him to go back to the place that let you go, to show up and then have your offense perform the way that they did yesterday. He has to get a big dub for this week.
Well said. Number one, I love when a coach or a player has a revenge game and they go off. It's just fun because they have so much emotion riding in, and they'll play it close to the hip, and they'll say all the right things in media, but good and damn well in their mind, they're like, I'm going to cook them. I'm going to make sure that they remember or they feel why I'm no longer there. Cliff was definitely the butt of many jokes, definitely several times on this podcast. Even though this man is living the most luxurious life with that house and seems like a damn model. And I don't know if he's married or not, but I'm sure he's out there pulling if he's not anyway. But to be ridiculed such the way he has since coming into the NFL, it wasn't a great start. His air raid offense, which was running rampant in Texas Tech, with him running at that point in time, right? It's Texas Tech, correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. He was with Mahomes.
Yes. So just seeing how that worked and whatnot, and the praise that got. I know a lot of people, including myself, said he absolutely did not deserve a head coaching job, and I still firmly believe that at that point in time. But I think what his role should have been when he came into the league is exactly what he's doing now, and be an offensive coordinator and solely focus on that. And he has a young guy that has been so good so far. It's like we're seeing a repeat of last year with Bryce Young and CJ Stroud again, because currently Caleb is not doing well. Was also almost one of my L's, but whatever. Just shout out to Cliff. That's phenomenal game.
Yeah, I would say too, just to go in there, the revenge game aspect and just beat up your old team feels good. And Brandon, we both criticized Cliff Kingsbury on this podcast numerous times, as you mentioned. No one is going to turn down a head coaching job in the NFL.
Absolutely not.
Even if they think they're not. I mean, very few would if they think they're not ready. He was ready to be the USC OC, right? And then all of a sudden has the first pick in the draft and he's the Cardinals head coach. And, the offense looked pretty good in Arizona. Everything else was kind of a mess, and hopefully he gets that shot again. But right now, what a perfect fit in Washington for what they want to do.
Yeah, I mean,
they got to do it.
Yeah, he's had just aside from the speed bump in with the Cardinals, which I thought he did honestly pretty well there with when Kyler came in and they made the playoffs that first year, and then aside from that, the injuries, I think he got. The NFL is obviously quick to fire head coaches, but I think he got a bad shake with that one. But, as the architect of Houston Cougars offense, Houston Cougars offense, where he started with the air raid and was running crazy through college football, then to Texas Tech with Mahomes, then with Texas A&M first with Johnny Manziel, and then you got Mahomes. He's kind of been quietly like the quarterback whisperer for a long time, and kind of what Lincoln Riley is now. And then to even work with Caleb Williams for a little bit under Lincoln Riley. So yeah, I think he got a probably deserved shake as a head coach, but I think they could have held on a little bit longer with Kyler coming back. But to see him, succeeding now in the offense that he runs, that's really just the way the game is played now. The air raid, the passing style, like he is what the NFL is striving to be. So, and it's no surprise that it is a surprise, but but with the pieces in place, with a very good quarterback and a very good offense, it's not shocking that they're playing this well.
If you remember what I said about Dan Quinn, I said that Dan Quinn's teams, if you remember back, I said Dan Quinn's teams always fight hard and they're always united and they always play good. And that has been wherever Dan Quinn has gone, his players play for him. And you can see that translating on the field. And I shared a video with both Sam and Harrison of Kingsbury, getting the game ball after the game and how amped the players were for him. That says everything to me. I don't care what the outside noise says about anything. The players will tell you everything of what they feel about who's in the building with them. So shout out to them, and shout out to Sam Darnold, because I'm sure the players in that building are absolutely loving him. And that is Sam's pick, the Vikings.
Yeah, man. Huge. I can't believe I'm doing this. Just in general, huge win for on the road in Green Bay, like division rival. I mean, they were up 28 zip at one point.
They gave up 22 in the fourth.
Yeah, so that's not what you want there, but they survived to play another day undefeated. I think there's only just a couple teams, 11 TDs, 3 interceptions on the year for Sam Darnold. I've found
Chiefs and Seahawks. That's
there you go. And Seahawks play the Lions tonight, so we'll see on the road. I found a bunch of crazy stats regarding like where the Vikings are this year. So Pro Football Reference has preseason Vegas win totals since 1989. This is via The Athletic. So if you look into it, Minnesota is one of 47 teams since 1989 to start 4-0 with a point differential of at least 50. Nearly 40% of those teams, 18 of 47, reach a Super Bowl. 8 won the whole thing. So not getting ahead of myself here. This is just a really well-balanced team. Sam Darnold is not making mistakes. They're scheming him up. Aaron Jones looks rejuvenated, and we talked about it last week too. That defense is something else, and it's been a fun team to watch. And as a Jets fan playing the Vikings in London next week, I'm not hopeful at all. So it's very strange to say out loud, but here I am. So go Vikings.
Yeah. The Sam Darnold led Vikings are going to touch the Jets next week, but we'll get into that. It's just very surprising. It's them, the Commanders, Seahawks starting off the way they did. Like it feels like somebody was just like, okay, here's the top teams, and we're just going to flip this on its head to start the season. There's a lot of time to go, but how they came out of the gate, I don't know if they're going to go away. I don't know if this is going to be a decline in there. I don't know if one of you pulled up their remaining schedule and what it looks like if they have like a tough patch based on the quote unquote teams that are powerhouses. But
they have Jets, then Lions, then at the Rams versus the Colts, at the Jaguars, at the Titans, at the Bears versus the Cardinals.
Okay,
so they could just
out of all that, there's only one possible loss that I see, and that's the Lions. That's it out of all those teams that you just named.
Yeah, if they keep playing like this, they'll be 8-1. So yeah, I wouldn't bet against them.
I guess not. I guess they made the right bet too by just saying, you know what, Kirk Cousins, peace out. We're good. We'll just rock with Sam, and we'll draft a quarterback of the future and just let him do what he's got to do. Remember, we thought J.J. McCarthy was going to start for them at one point.
He was going to.
Yeah, he was potentially.
And T.J. Hawkinson's not healthy yet, coming off a torn ACL.
Yep.
And they traded up a pick, thank you, Vikings, to the Jets for J.J. McCarthy. Imagine if, Darnold's on a 1-year deal here. If he keeps this up, this is going to be a very interesting situation.
Yes.
But you imagine what they could have done with that draft capital.
Yeah.
If they didn't take J.J. McCarthy. And, again, no one thought this was going to happen, but here we are. It's the NFL, baby.
Sam Darnold, that to the JETSSSSSSSSS Jets. Sorry. Former Jets quarterback, Joe Flacco. Harrison's pick.
Yeah, Joe Flacco. I honestly didn't remember where he was. So I got the alert. I wasn't watching this game, so I got the alert on my phone that Anthony Richardson is out because I have him in fantasy. Of course I do. So, I didn't really know who was going in for him. And then I'm watching another game, and across my screen flashes like a very large person wearing number 15. He looked kind of fat, to be honest. I was like, who is this person? And then they said Flacco connects. I'm like, whoa, Joe Flacco is back. For them to score 28 on the Steelers, basically led most of the way by Joe Flacco to take a Colts team who looked really bad last week, and to get a good home win against a team that I really, really think is very good in the Steelers. Props to Joe Flacco. Welcome back. Anthony Richardson did say he wanted to go back in the second quarter, and the coach was like, no, we're good. So I'm curious to see where this goes, but the Joe Flacco revenge tour, I guess we signed up for it again this year, maybe.
Shout out to him for just being a guy that was on his couch last year and got up off the couch and just started slinging, and now he's back in the league just as a serviceable backup quarterback. A guy that did he win a Super Bowl? I'm pretty sure he did. So a guy that is a backup quarterback that won a Super Bowl that just comes like, okay, whatever, put me in a game, just slings some touchdowns and then just goes sits down. The Colts look terrible. I'm sure Jim Irsay is probably sitting there kicking himself saying, I should have never played Jonathan Taylor because he's injured again. And really hasn't even done anything prior to that. The Colts just look god awful. They don't look good at all. I can't even remember the last time somebody talked about the Colts outside of us here on this podcast and talking about Anthony Richardson. So
there's not, there's some talent there, but again, it starts with the quarterback position, and you have a quarterback who's had like 20 career starts since high school at quarterback, can't finish games. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. We saw it in week 1, right? Like one of the craziest passes you'll ever see, literally off, like falling down, throwing a touchdown. And then you have just the inefficiency and head scratching decisions. This is what you signed up for with the Anthony Richardson experience. I'm not writing him off here, but yeah, Shane Steichen, your boy, he's got a lot of work to do there. They have some great weapons. They need to get him the ball though. Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, I really like both those receivers. Taylor can't stay on the field, so we'll see what happens there. But yeah, a lot of work to be done. We're talking about their offense when their defense is really just like a turnstile. So
yeah.
I mean, I didn't watch of any of all of this game. So obviously allowing 312 yards to Justin Fields, that's a good sign for the Steelers. They're obviously down the whole game and he had to throw, but for them to hold on, I was impressed. Even with how bad they've looked all year.
Speaking of holding on, that's what the Broncos did against Sam's Jets and Harrison's Jets, I guess. I'm sure this week it's not
not this week.
Yeah, see, of course. Yeah. Only when they're winning. This was another revenge game. This was a revenge game.
Nate Hackett that.
Excuse me?
Tell Nate Hackett it was a revenge game.
Yeah, well, see, the problem is, and I should have probably have him as one of my L's, because the only reason that I believe Nathaniel Hackett still has an offensive coordinator job in this league is because of Aaron Rodgers. Because everywhere he has gone, he has been absolutely terrible. It hasn't been good. The only reason he's looked good with Rodgers is because Aaron Rodgers can make a garbage can look good. So not right now currently, but you get it. But yeah, the 2 wins in a row with a team led by Bo Nix. To see that they're kind of building off of what happened. It was a sloppy game. It was not a great game to watch at all. I watched all I saw was clips. I could not watch that game because I just kept looking at the score and seeing how terrible it was. Plus, also at that point in time, I was just too detached from football, the way that the Eagles played, but we'll get to that. But yeah, the Broncos, as I said before, Sean Payton has his guy. Yes, it was an ugly win. But there's no reason that the Broncos should have won this game against the Jets, period. I don't care. You have Breece Hall back there. I would have thought they would have ran all over the Broncos. But the Broncos do have a solid pieces on their team, so I don't want to sleep on that. But I still believe on paper the Jets should have won. I mean, ask Aaron and what he feels about Robert Saleh. I feel like they're going to square up in some point in the locker room. They're just going to square up and I need 5 minutes with you, please, because they don't seem to be getting along at all. But shout out to the Broncos.
In the vein of Cliff Kingsbury, where it's like, I felt this way about Rex too. Like, you're a really good coordinator, but maybe you're not a head coach. The same here with Robert Saleh, because I just head scratching moves here. I mean, I guess I'll just tie this with my first L today. Sorry, Harrison, to jump you here, but
no, please do. It works well.
Yeah, is the Jets here? You lost 10-9 to Bo Nix. I know the weather was awful in New Jersey, but
not
the
great.
Broncos had to play in it too. Yep. So there's that. Broncos had fewer first down than the Jets. They converted just 3 of 14 third downs. Only one Bronco had more than 3 receiving yards. Last year, the NFL's most penalized team was the Jets. Yesterday, they were penalized 13 times for 90 yards. 2 others were declined. They were 4 of 17 on third down and 0-2 in the red zone. I don't know why you don't give it to Braylon Allen, who's just 230. Just give him the ball. Don't understand there. Breece Hall was ineffective, as you mentioned. 4 for 10 there. And Rodgers was running for his life. 5 sacks, 14 hits, 22 pressures. Not going to do it. You're not getting anywhere with that.
Yeah, that's not great. Sam, you still have the floor though. You have the Bucks.
You get to go happy now. Let's go.
I get to go. Look at that double dip.
Yeah, double dip.
Well, the Bucks won at home.
Yeah, they did
against both your Eagles. Go Birds!
Not both. One of our Eagles.
This week. This week they're just yours.
Yeah, this week. See,
this week.
This guy
was not a good week for all the Birds.
No, bad. For
as we'll get to. So yeah, 33-16 win against the Eagles here. They just outplayed the Eagles. Now look, they were down Lane Johnson, the Eagles, and both receivers, but it was just it was rough. It was a rough game. I wanted to put my L of the week just being Baker Mayfield for his comments and then getting torched by Tom Brady. I don't necessarily disagree about the whole situation. I just thought that was hilarious too.
He clarified it, but Tom ethered him live.
Yeah,
that was Tom brought us to. He was like, "Oh, you guys want to roast me live?" He was like, "Here's my version of the roast." And Baker got scorched. What team starts about him?
So if you didn't hear, Baker Mayfield during the week or at some point in an interview said that, coming in, being the Bucs quarterback after Tom Brady, it was pretty tight in the locker room. Everyone was, there was a lot of stress, whatever. I'm sure Tom Brady exudes that, right? He is, the most winning quarterback of all time, most decorated, whatever. And then Tom just eviscerated, as you mentioned on the air, basically saying like,
Oh, I got the quote if you want it.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was waiting for this. Tom said, "I thought stressful was not having Super Bowl rings." He said, "There was a mindset of a champion that I took to work every day. This wasn't daycare. If I wanted to have fun, I was going to go to Disneyland with my kids." And then he added, there was an approach to this game. There's high expectations for us. We have to make sure we go out there and deliver. So the way I read it is completely different from the tone that Tom had. So please take the time and go listen to it, because Tom was not having it. He was not with the shits. I will tell you that right now. He was not happy. And it was like hella awkward in the booth too. It was just like, oh,
Yeah,
and then
Kevin
like
didn't know what to do.
I think like their ref, their like former ref like came in. He was like, I was gonna say something. He was like, but you sure you don't need more space to say more stuff? And kind of like gave it back. And Tom was like, kind of is what it is. So yeah, I thought that was very, very interesting. But yeah, the Bucks absolutely pummeled the Eagles, and I will just get right into my L with this because I got a lot to say about the Eagles. As Sam mentioned at the top of this, no Lane, no AJ, no Devonta Smith. Get it. Cool, great, got it. I don't give a damn. I don't. This is, I think they've lost 10 of the last 13 games. It seems like Nick Sirianni still has his hands on this offense. I know he's trying to do and say the right things, but I believe that Nick Sirianni lost this team. And I believe, and I said it during the offseason, that they should have let him go. I believe they're giving him another chance because he brought this team to the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. I don't give a damn. When you lose this team and you hear how this quarterback responds when it's questions about Nick Sirianni, Jalen's not going to answer and give you a flat-out answer. We all know that. But his tone and his demeanor every time he's asked a question about it says everything. Then you have to have all his other peers talk about him and speak up for Nick Sirianni in every press interview that they go through. I'm tired of the stupid-ass cliches and metaphors that he uses. That shit is weak. It's over and done with. We got to fix this. We got to fix this. We got to fix this. And it's not getting fixed. They are Swiss cheese, the defense. I don't care. It looks exactly the same. They went and played the Bucks yesterday, and it looked just like the playoff game. Exactly the same. Jalen getting hit every once in a while, turning the ball over every way you look. The defense literally couldn't stop a nosebleed. It was fun to watch. Please trade Avonte Maddox to a cargo ship company and ship his ass off somewhere. I'll take a cargo container over him because that would cover somebody way more than he would. I'm sick and tired of him, number one. CJ, please stop talking because you're out here getting cooked. Slay, I don't know what the hell you're doing because in 2 games straight, you're just letting people just cook you. And then also, how do you start the second half knowing that you need to get back in the game? You hand the ball off to Saquon Barkley. He breaks it for 58 yards, and then you hand it off to him. Guess how many times after that, guys? Once. He breaks off a 58-yard. He's the best player on offense on your team that day, and you hand the ball off to him once. As you start the second half, he runs for 58 yards, and you say, you know what? I got a great idea. Let's not hand him the goddamn ball anymore. Smart. Very, very smart. I will also say this. I understand that Jalen Hurts didn't have his weapons, but I am getting to the point that I'm absolutely tired of defending Jalen Hurts because you can't defend the turnovers. You had A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith last year towards the end of the year when this all started to fall apart, and you still were turning the ball over. You're not running the ball well. You don't look like you have the speed that you once had. Your decision-making is terrible. So I'm getting to the point of I don't want to hear the excuses. Just do it. That's it.
I think we need a minute.
We'll be right back.
Do we have like ad breaks? Not yet.
We're gonna make one.
Make one.
And we're back. Well, we're gonna go let Brandon catch his breath for a second.
I'm good. Perfectly fine.
Well,
I'm good. I said what I needed to say. The floor is yours, gentlemen.
So next I have the AFC East.
Let's just put it all in that cargo container and burn it.
So obviously, the Dolphins haven't played yet. They get the Titans tonight, so they get one on the board for the AFC East. But just a bad weekend overall for every other team in that division. Bills got absolutely mollywopped last night. Jets looked inept, and the Patriots. What are they doing? Why? I said it when we started the season. I understand why they're not playing Drake May. I don't agree with why they're not playing Drake May. I could understand it more if you're sitting behind a quarterback that isn't Jacoby Brissett. Like, what are we learning here? If you're worried about him getting hurt, okay, but roll him out there. It's just not good. Where are you going? What are you doing? Why? So for the whole AFC East, you get a big L.
Yeah.
I am a firm believer that Drake May is going to start this next game against the Dolphins.
I was just going to say that.
Sure.
I'm pulling it. I just have a feeling that this is a perfect team to go against because they're not playing great either. They're probably going to get their asses whooped tonight.
Tyler Huntley's the starter?
Yes,
tonight?
He's a starting quarterback tonight. Yeah. Which he should be. And
yeah, I agree.
He'll make it competitive for them, but I still think they're going to
I like Huntley, yeah.
I do as well. But I think Drake May definitely starts on Sunday against the Dolphins.
At home, too,
Yep. It makes sense, but, I mean, regardless, it's not going to make a difference.
No,
it ain't going to make a difference at all.
It's not.
But we can get to see what he looks like. So Harrison, if you guys remember real quick, since we're talking about it, Harrison had a 3-game rule for quarterbacks to see if they are it or not. So I just wanted an update on Caleb Williams because it's been more than 3 games now. What's your thoughts on him? Where is he at? You're still giving him a chance?
Absolutely. They got a win yesterday, 2-2. He looked good.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
He's Mark Sanchez.
This 3-game, the team's
winning.
This is completely overblown, by the way.
What's completely overblown?
You can just see it, man. Like, you can just see it.
Okay.
It wouldn't if the Patriots were 0-3 with Drake May or whatever the record may be, it wouldn't matter as long as he's getting reps. Like, he's in game speed. He's in actual game speed. I understand. Like, we want to see quarterbacks learn behind a veteran or the old way, the old approach to it. I get that, but doesn't the veteran have to be worthy of starting? Like, if he's sitting behind Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers or a quarterback of that stature, I get it. But he's sitting behind Jacoby Brissett. Get him the game speed. I don't care if he throws 10 picks. I don't care. He needs the game reps. But that's just my theory on it. And I get Tom Brady saying what he said, but that's just not the way the game is played anymore, nor is the way the NFL salary cap works. So if we're going to take that approach, then quarterbacks coming out should make far less if they're not valuable to what the organization is doing.
So I understand your perspective. Thank you. Here's some stats. Caleb is 2-2. Jayden Daniels 3-1. Completion percentage. Caleb is 61.7. Jayden Daniels is 82.1%.
Yeah.
Passing yards. Caleb 787. Jayden 897. They both have 3 passing touchdowns. Yards per attempt, Caleb 9, Jayden 10.3. Interceptions, Caleb 4, Jayden 1. Carries, 16 for Caleb, 46 for Jayden. Rushing yards for Caleb, 79, 218 for Jayden, and 4 rushing touchdowns for Jayden, 0 for Caleb. So that's where
there's
at with
there's no comparison at all right now between those two.
Yeah.
No comparison. Like,
well, there's always going to be a comparison because they're always going to be tied to the hip as their future goes, no matter what. It's just going to be a thing that people are going to do. So those stats will continue to come.
It's crazy too because even though we saw flaws, and even Harrison being a Caleb Williams fan, saw the flaws too. Like, they're clearly there. This is
of course
we're not playing at USC.
Yeah,
but we're praising the Bears, and because they are winning, because the team around Caleb Williams is great. And
Correct.
I'm not jumping ship on him. I mean, I wasn't really high on him, but I'm not jumping ship. It's still early. He needs to figure some stuff out. But now you have the Commanders in this situation where it's like, I didn't think the Commanders were any good. I mean, I like Jayden Daniels. I like some of the pieces around, and now Jayden's on like an insane run right now. I mean, in the last 2 games, he's got 5 touchdowns and 6 incompletions.
So yeah, what he's doing now is just a complete anomaly. Caleb Williams is how a rookie quarterback should look, and I'm fine with rookie quarterbacks looking the way Caleb Williams looks as long as they show some of those flashes, like with the eye test. His numbers aren't going to be great; they're just not going to be. What Jayden Daniels is doing is, like I said, an anomaly. Like, doesn't happen. CJ Stroud did it; doesn't happen.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I have a question for you, though, just to think about it from a different perspective.
Sure.
On paper, the Bears are considered to have a better team than the Commanders.
Offensive line matters a whole lot.
I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm just saying on paper, and you can add that to your answer, so that's good that you have that. But on paper, the Bears are considered to have a better team, and Caleb is not doing anything with the receiving core that he has and the weapons that he has offensively compared to Jayden. Now, I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah.
I obviously just read the numbers. It's not bad. It's not too far
off
from at all.
It's not bad.
Do you take that into consideration? Because obviously we know, to your point, the Bears did not invest in an offensive line, which they didn't do with Justin Fields, which is another reason why Justin Fields is not there. So do you factor that into your thought process too?
Absolutely. It's all within context. Like, yeah, we talk about quarterbacks a lot because that's the flashy, sexy thing to talk about, but it's a complete team game. No matter the weapons you have on the outside, if you have no offensive line, this is just elementary stuff with football. Like, the Commanders' offensive line is outstanding. Like, he has all day back in that pocket to throw, and he's been accurate his whole career. My only concern with Jane was his injuries, his injury potential. But other than that, like, he is a far more accurate quarterback than Caleb Williams and has been. So they just have a perfect match made in heaven right now, with Cliff and Dan Quinn and that offensive line and a very accurate, smart quarterback, to where I think the Bears still have some stuff to figure out.
Agreed.
But I see enough from Caleb, like the arm talent, the ability to move. Yes, he's definitely a gunslinger, and he's gonna make some crazy dumb mistakes. But I think once they can shore up the offensive line, it won't be this season, obviously, but once they can shore up that offensive line a little bit, I think they have a good piece moving forward.
Caleb completed every pass under 15 yards, air yards. This is per Next Gen Stats.
Oof, it's pretty good.
Was just 2 of 7 over 15 air yards. That includes that touchdown to DJ Moore. So, yeah, I mean, they're winning ball games here. Look, he didn't turn the ball over. He didn't light up the stat sheet, but it was his most efficient game. So, and the running game came alive yesterday. Like DeAndre Swift looked like Lions DeAndre Swift. So, like, that's good. So there's something there.
All right, guys, we're moving forward because we're spending too much time and talking about Caleb.
No, it's a fun conversation because you are right. Jayden Daniels and Caleb Williams and Justin Fields, to a sense, are going to be tied together for the foreseeable future,
as long as they're in the league. Yep.
Yeah, depending on the narrative that you want to give, but I think all 3 of them are good quarterbacks.
I agree.
I don't know about Drake May. I'd like to see it.
I'm just very happy.
Taking into context everything he has around him. The Patriots are terrible. Yes, I know that. But there are still things that you can see watching someone in game film.
Yeah. I'm just very happy seeing black quarterbacks thrive in a league that originally didn't want them to do it because they said they weren't smart enough to do that. Speaking of a black quarterback, because Harrison said elementary, and this guy looks like he should be in elementary. He's the quarterback of the Cardinals. And it's really just the Cardinals in general that is an L for me this week, because in particular, someone over here had them going to the Super Bowl and says, hold on, they still have a chance. He also had a particular head coach being the coach of the year, so I guess he still has a chance too. So I'm just really curious about that because, as I said off air, I will say on air, is Harrison is clearly going to die on this hill, and I will be there to drive the stake into his gravesite right on his tombstone. You were dumb for picking this, and we'll go from there. The Cardinals don't look great. They do. In all jokes aside, Kyler, I do believe Kyler is one of the better QBs, but Kyler, he could be elite. He's a couple. How should I say this?
He doesn't get rid of the ball fast enough.
Well, I think he gets rid of the ball way quicker than Jalen Hurts, but that's a whole other topic too. Because he actually holds the ball some of the longest. But I think Kyler, he has the big play ability. He has the ability to scramble out of the pocket and still stop and throw a rope. He has an absolute cannon and honestly one of the best arms in the NFL. But my biggest problem with him is his decision making. I won't say his height because I don't believe his height affects him. Yes, if he stands in the pocket, but he's able to move the pocket and still throw the ball. So I won't use the height against him, but I believe his decision making is a huge part of what has held this Cardinals team back. And obviously injury history as well too, because he is absolutely prone to injury, and that's affected this team during Cliff Kingsbury's tenure as well, as you mentioned earlier, and fast forward to now, which he's fine now, but you have such a stud in Marvin Harrison Jr. Obviously, teams are going to game plan for him, but you also have a good running game. It just blows my mind what happens. And then also with Doof as the head coach, you would think their defense would be able to stop something. But again, I also remember when his defense couldn't stop a nosebleed when another team got to going because he doesn't adjust his game plans, which is a big problem with coaches that I've seen. They just go in with a game plan and they will die on that hill too. Cardinals they do have a chance, to be fair. They do have a chance to still do something to get a wild card because that's what it's looking like it's going to be. But I find it to be very, very hard, especially with a team in a division that is absolutely going to run away with it. But they do still have a chance. I just think they suck. So there's that. Yeah.
We're fine. They're fine. No, it's concerning. Yeah, I agree with you. Like he does. I think he looks for the big play too often. And that's, I think a lot of his sacks, I think half the sacks come from the line, which is he's under siege a lot, but he should be able to get out of the pocket and make those plays. And hopefully they're designing plays for him to do that. But the times he does have options, I think he looks for the big play a little bit too often instead of taking kind of the easy check down route and keeping it moving. So their offense going completely stagnant for 3 quarters was weird
Not
to see, knowing all the pieces they have around them. James Conner is a very good running back. They should really use that more. I think it's not just they're probably a prisoner of their own success against the Rams because backing that game up, you could just see them just going for big plays over and over and over again. And while they are explosive and can be, you still need to set that up with the medium routes and the shorter routes and the run game. So yeah, coaching is an issue. Kyler's decision making is an issue, but I still think they have the explosive ability to cover that up in the long run. But the defense is a major issue. And I said that, last week when they played the Lions, where they kept Jared Goff basically stayed on the field the entire game, which is what the Lions do. They control the ball and they control it really well. But you mentioned it's like a bend don't break scenario for them. They broke. They're breaking, and I'm very concerned about the defense. They have a few good pieces on there, but overall the scheme is just not doing well. They're giving up huge passing plays over and over and over again, and I am very concerned. But we're fine. Go Birds. Thank you, Sam.
Sam, do you have anything to say about this before you go to the Browns, please?
No.
Okay. Yeah. Go to the Browns, please, sir.
I don't even really want to talk about the Browns. They're just, they're bad. They're just bad.
Yeah, they're bad.
On the road in Vegas, the offensive. Well, okay, first off, offense has scored 58 points in 4 games. I'm not great at math, but the calculator says 14.5 points per game. Not going to get it done.
Yeah.
That's even with, your defense scoring in games here. They haven't scored 20 points in a game yet.
It's bad.
So here you lose to the Raiders, who were 1-2, had some bad losses out there, of course, but here you are without Devontae Adams or Max Crosby, and you lose a game. Deshaun Watson, it's like, I don't even want to talk about Deshaun Watson anymore. It just kind of looks like, karma came back here and just zapped him of any ability to play the quarterback position. And then I saw some headline, and I don't know if Flacco said this or it leaked out, that the Browns didn't even call Joe Flacco to come back. What? Seriously?
You know what, Sam? I got something better for you. You said you didn't want to talk about Browns because they are very similar to a color or something that is in a lot of people's toilet bowl. We should talk about a team that is down south instead, that has essentially been a toilet bowl. And you asked, why did nobody put them on this list? And that, I think, would be a better conversation. You put, why are we not talking about the Jags? Sam, why are we not talking about the Jags?
I don't know. I don't know. They're 0-4 for the second time in 4 seasons. I mean, that was with Urban Meyer the first time. Not the first time. I'm sure it's happened more in their illustrious history in the league. But they're just, again, here's another team that hasn't scored any points all year. I think they have 60 all year. Trevor Lawrence's completion percentage is in the toilet. When asked about his job security, I mean, what's Doug Peterson going to say? But he's not worried. Like, if he said anything else, I would be worried. But man, this is not working out, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I try to give my L's to teams like that I feel like have some like positive outlook to them. Like, okay, this can get better. So that's why I haven't added the Jags or the Browns, because I've honestly completely written both of them off as both just terrible football organizations. So it's like beating a dead horse at this point with both those teams, because they're both just really bad.
I need GMs.
Brian Thomas, though, very good.
Very good. Yes.
I need GMs to start covering their own asses here. I use this term at work, COA. To cover your own ass and stop paying these quarterbacks that you know aren't good. I understand that this is your only option, or so you think, but guess what? As we just mentioned earlier, Joe Flacco was not anywhere. You could have went and got him. You could have went and got Huntley. I would have much rather that than Trevor Lawrence, because Trevor Lawrence has not panned out. And you're spending all this money on this guy, and no matter what, you are now tied to him for X amount of years. Doug is absolutely going to lose his job. I'm surprised he hasn't lost his job yet. I'm surprised, like, right after the game, they weren't like, Doug, we know you've won a Super Bowl. Yeah, that's great. You ain't do a damn thing here. Goodbye. I'm surprised he hasn't lost his job yet. But again, the Jags have been ran like absolute garbage for years. They've started to put things together, but I remember when this defense was somewhat decent not too long ago. I don't know what happened to the defense.
Didn't they start on fire? Was it last year where they were in first place for most of the first place in the division?
Don't know what happened. Trevor Lawrence out here going Ducks.
9-win team last year.
And then the year before they were in the playoffs, right? Because that was the Chiefs game where Patrick Mahomes got hurt.
Absolutely.
Again, a 9-win team, and they won the division with 9 wins because the Titans only had 7 behind them.
Yeah, see, I get it. I get it, though. And I'll say this before we move on, because we got a lot more to talk about. I guess I would much rather have Trevor Lawrence throwing the ball than his backup quarterback, Dak Jones. So,
I was just looking up who it was,
I just don't understand why they extended him when they did.
Same.
Like, they had another year. Like, you had another year.
Wait and see. You could have went into the draft again and be like, you know what? This is not it. And I honestly feel like I will die on this hill, is that I firmly believe these kids that are coming out, that are playing for these elite teams that are absolutely running through college football and tearing these kids up while they're playing again with multiple stars that are going to be in the NFL. It hypes them up, and when they get to the NFL, which they normally are going to go to a terrible team, they don't look good. And that's because they're not in a good organization. And that's no fault to them, because that's where they're selected. But yet and still, at some point in time, the tables have to turn. The Texans weren't good. CJ Stroud turned that around, right?
I think it's even a little more than that, though. So it's like you're playing for these power organizations, and you still have bad habits that you don't have, that don't quite come out. Like Trevor Lawrence, bad footwork. Bryce Young, bad footwork.
Yes.
Like all that stuff. You don't see that in the college game because there's not the opportunity when you're under pressure to do it. So I think that's why I take some of the context differently. Like looking at, there are some great college quarterbacks come from really big programs like CJ Stroud, Ohio State, and Jayden Daniels, LSU. But those guys in college, you can see their mechanics and how they operate in the pocket. But and that's not what I saw with Trevor Lawrence or Bryce Young.
Well, that's to your point, and I think you highlighted a great point, which is another point I was going to make is if let's just say I had a child, if I was fortunate enough to have a son that wanted to play football and whatnot, and he's really good at football, and we're sitting down, we're having conversations of where to go, I'm saying, son, go to a team that has a pro-style offense.
Yep.
Because these fake, gimmicky offenses that they have in college, these kids that go there and play there, they don't play under center. They don't get the fundamentals that they're actually supposed to do, even though they've done it in high school and Pee Wee and stuff like that. College is where their real true development happens to go to that next level. And if you're playing for a spread offense all the time where you need to be in a pro-style offense, it doesn't translate well. A lot of these guys don't pan out because they don't have that experience, and they're learning their first time in the NFL where they got 400-pound dudes that are running 4.5s at you, and you have no time to think. It makes no sense in that. But
we've exhausted the Trevor Lawrence talk over the years, but 6'6", and just the skills that he has, you would bet on that, right? Even take him out of Clemson. It's really interesting. I heard, and I know I asked a question a couple weeks ago about Colorado and Shedeur Sanders. I heard Mel Kiper say, and this was before the Bama game this weekend, if you took Shedeur and put him on Georgia and you put Carson Beck on Colorado, how would we feel about these quarterbacks? Carson Beck going into the year, at least, if you told me before the NFL season started, who's the first pick in the draft? And I'd say, just regardless of team, from, quarterback's going to go one, it's Carson Beck, right? Like in my brain, not knowing as much about college football or really diving into the prospects, it's Carson Beck. But that's not always true. I mean, Andrew Luck never was this generational kind of talent, and he never lit it up at Stanford. But who was he?
But he was
playing
really,
with
he
at
was
Stanford?
Really good at Stanford.
Of course he was. Yeah. With what he had around him too, he did not have the luxury of all of these first round picks around him, and I mean, he had a good coach and a good system set up here.
But so I mean, you also saw how he operated at the line too. He was making audibles at the line and whatnot. So seeing that translates well. That's to your point, Sam. It's just, you're looking at those guys. I look at Beck and I'm like, I would never even draft him. That's not a guy that I would ever even remotely think about drafting, period. If you got him in as Mr. Irrelevant, sure, fine, whatever. We'll put you on the team. I don't think, even though they have him as being this top tier quarterback, I don't see that in him. But if you said what you said, which I really want to highlight, and we should definitely just move on after this, but if Shedeur was on Georgia with that line, to have the time that he would have with that line, it would be a different conversation, because Shedeur, yes, is starting to pan out now. I know Harrison watched the game. I don't know if you watched the game, Sam, but
I saw parts of it.
Okay.
Especially since I was questioning a lot of, that team, or at least the players on that team. I wanted to, figure out what I was actually talking about.
Offensive game that they played since they've been there in Colorado. And you actually got to see what this team could potentially be and what Deion has seen in this team and whatnot. And seeing Shedeur absolutely pick when he has his time and is able to make his reads, he is super accurate. It is ridiculous how accurate he is, which is why he's considered to be a top prospect. He's very
Jayden Daniels with his accuracy. But he's been in the Manning QB camp every summer since he was 12 years old. So.
And he also gets personal training with Tom Brady, because Tom Brady is like a godfather to him, essentially. So that helps. What doesn't help my psyche is having to do these power rankings, because in the first 4 weeks, it's been absolutely nuts, and I will just give you what I have. So starting at 5, they're new to the rankings. It is the Commanders, who we've talked about. If they win next week, I don't think they have a bye next week, but if they win next week, they may be in the top 3 easily based on what they have been doing.
They play the Browns.
Okay, well then they won't be in the top 3 because they play the Browns. So let's stay right where they need to stay. Steelers at 4. Their defense is just everything. Their defense is TJ Watt, excuse me. Absolutely phenomenal. I forgot who said it. They said TJ Watt should have been the defensive player of the year multiple times, but refs just call him offsides too much because he gets a quick jump off the line, unlike anybody else in the league. And it shows. And shout out to Justin Fields because he's actually doing something with an O-line. The Bills, they lost last night. I kept them at 3rd, though, because they did play the Ravens, who I see as a high contender. It's a tough team. They're still 3-1. I did not want to move them at all. So the Bills stay at 3. Chiefs were at 1. And they're still undefeated, but I dropped them to 2. And the reason why I dropped them to 2 is they just lost a key player that is a big part of their offense. Sorry, Sam. Key player that's part of their offense, in Rice. They don't look great, but this is how the Chiefs play too. This is what they do every year, and they have done in the past 2 years, and just gone on to win a Super Bowl. Is they start off, it doesn't look great. The next thing you know, they're in the playoffs, as we know they're going to be, and then they turn it on, and then they're in the Super Bowl, and then they have another parade, and where there's a bunch of barbecue and stuff going on, and Mahomes wearing Oakleys, and Travis Kelce yelling, "You got to fight for your right to party." So they're at 2, just because the Vikings are so hot at this point in time. They have the top defense. Again, we didn't think that they would be this with the offense, and they are absolutely. They're not beating teams by a little. They're beating teams by a lot. I know they just had this big comeback, as we talked about, or the Packers had a comeback against them in this game, but they have absolutely been putting a hurting on teams, and as they should, because some of the teams that they have been played aren't so great. But I think that could change next week. But this is a little reach for me. I will say this. It's a little reach for me, but I think they are the hottest team in the league. So that is my top rankings for this week, and honorable mentions: Seahawks and Bucks.
I think I would have put the Bucks at 5. That's it, though, because the Bucks beat the Commanders. They're also 3-1.
True.
And the Seahawks are still getting no respect, so we'll see.
They're not going to get any respect. Yep.
And looking at this, I was like, where are we going to put the Ravens here? Like, know, I know they had a great game against the Bills at home yesterday, but like, these are the teams that they need to beat, and have had trouble with in the past year. Lamar looks insane, and Derrick Henry. Well, I'll just never doubt Derrick Henry again. He's going to be 40 years old. He's going to be Frank Gore. It's fine. Just give him the ball here. So I would be interested to see like where the Ravens kind of would fit in here. I mean, again, we've said this every week. It's early. You could kind of shuffle a lot of this around, and there wouldn't be much pushback. So
I should start doing my power rankings next year at like week 6, and just start going from there, where things actually start to pan out a little bit better. But I think Harrison should do his power list rankings no matter what. And Harrison, it's your turn to do that.
Coming at number 28, the Patriots, who were not ranked last week. I don't know why, but they should be here for the foreseeable future. Number 29, the Browns. I think they'll stay for a while. Number 30, the Panthers, still a minus 56 point differential. The Andy Dalton thing was fun for a week, but now we're back to regular scheduled programming. The Titans, just because they haven't played yet. So last week I had them at 32, but now they're at 31, and they get the Dolphins tonight. So toss up there. We could see the Dolphins or Titans back in here. And then number 32, 0-4, the Jags. So honorable mentions for the Rams, Dolphins, Giants, and the AFC South. The entire division. They have no positive point differential in the division. Not a team Not a team with a positive point differential at all, other than the where is this? Where is this? No, Texans are minus 15. Ooh. The Colts have a 0 point differential, so they've just played it even.
Okay.
Texans are 3-1, but they've looked shaky.
They don't look great. They don't look shaky right now. I agree.
They'll probably win the division, but yeah, shaky.
Yeah, just like the Bengals. So our records after this week, before we get to picks, which I'm going to run through quick. This week I was 10-4. Sam was 10-4. Harrison was 7-7. I knew that was
bad week.
He was being risky last week.
I was being risky. I'm not being risky this week.
I give you respect for that. And the listeners were 9-5. Total records for the season. I'm just 500, 31-31. Nice. Sam is 38-24. Harrison 36-26, and Instagram listeners 39-23. Our picks for this week: teams that are on bye. Thank God the Eagles are on the bye. Lions, Chargers, and Titans. Thursday night football: Bucks at Falcons. We all have the Bucks. Sunday: Jets, Vikings, in London. 9:30 in the morning. Wake up, get your coffee, go to sleep early on Saturday. Vikings, we all have. Panthers, Sam, you should probably sleep through that. Panthers, Bears at Bears. Bears, we all have the Bears.
Get the misery
Ravens
out early.
At Bengals. What happened?
Get the misery out early.
Misery out early. I can enjoy the rest of my Sunday.
Pretty much. Just wake up at the right time. So you're just like, oh, okay. Quick glimpse. You should just turn on
fantasy lineups.
Just turn on football. And I mean, like, not the football that plays in London, that football. Panthers at Bears, we all have Bears. Ravens at Bengals, we all have Ravens. Bills at Texans, I have the Bills. Sam has the Texans. Harrison has the Bills. Colts at Jags, I have the Jags. Don't ask me why I have the Jags.
No, why?
I figured this would be, if any game they're going to win this year, this would probably be the game.
Okay.
I'm changing. I have the Bills over the Texans. I just changed it. I'm changing it. I have the Bills over the Texans.
Okay, so we're all Bills. Okay.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
Both Sam and Harrison have the Colts for that one. Dolphins at Patriots. Sam asked a valid question. Does he have to? I said yes. So I'm assuming Sam is taking the Dolphins?
I'm going to say the Dolphins because I think Drake May starts in this game. And that's, if I had to pick, which I will pick the Dolphins.
That's exactly why I picked the Patriots to win, is because I think Drake May is going to play. Browns at Commanders. I have Jaden Daniels, and you both have the Commanders. Cardinals at Niners. We all have. Whoa. We don't all have. Sam has the Niners. I have the Niners, and somebody wrote Cards. You suck next to that. And Harrison has the Cards. No shock there. They're going to lose again. They'll be 1-4. 1-4 after this.
That's why they need to win this game.
Okay, they won't.
Pause real quick. I know we've been making jokes about the Cardinals, and Harrison believed in them preseason, like to be a better team. And it's kind of been a joke here, but like, do you seriously, you really think they're going to beat the 49ers?
I think they're good.
On the road, rather.
I do. I think they're good, and I haven't loved the Niners, and if the Cards are going to be what I think they are, they have to win this week. And if they don't, we can pack up the bit.
We're not going to pack up a bit. If they lose after what you just said, you should probably take off next week. Packers at Rams, we all have the Packers. Giants at Seahawks, we all have the Seahawks. Sunday Night Football, Cowboys at Steelers. It is the Steel. Well, it is certain curtain, might be curtain call for them, the Cowboys, them boys. Monday Night Football, Saints at Chiefs. This is a very interesting game. You both have the Chiefs. I have the Saints. I think they could possibly win this game. I think this is going to be a closer game than people think that it's going to be. And
how about the Chiefs getting all these home games against good teams? I guess you deserve it.
No matter where they go, they get a home game because the refs are always on their side. So there's that.
We've reached Patriot territory here.
We have, even though I still like the Chiefs. I can't hate the Chiefs. They're very likable people. I just don't like them when they play my team.
Fair.
NBA. There was a trade that I don't think any of us saw. Period. And when it happened, I still could not believe that it came over my phone. Karl Anthony Towns was traded to the Knicks for Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo. The Knicks will also send the Hornets a first-round pick via Detroit, lottery protected. I honestly think this is such a phenomenal move for the Knicks to be able to now have another big man that replaces Hartenstein. You're adding three productivity, so you don't lose that with. You would have lost that with DiVincenzo, who was one of the better 3-point shooters last year, percentage wise. You still have Cat who can knock that down, but you also get another big man. And Randall's always injured, so that helps. But I think it makes it very interesting for what their lineup's going to be. I just don't know how it's going to work. But if I'm a Knicks fan, I don't want to see. I think you got robbed from seeing Villanova completely united and seeing the team back together. But one of the rumors that have come out from this is that DiVincenzo didn't like the idea that he'd be coming off the bench and losing playing time to Mikal Bridges. So I understand that for sure. Thoughts, gentlemen, on the trade?
I don't love it for either side. I thought they could have wrote it out a little longer with Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm not the biggest Karl-Anthony Towns fan, as we've documented. I don't know how. I think the Knicks will be fine. I think they'll be very good. I just have questions about him in when it matters most. I think he's a little soft. I don't know how that meshes well with Tom Thibodeau.
Charmin.
The Knicks do need this. They are very thin up front, and Mitch Robinson is injured for a while. So I think
he's injured every year.
Yeah, I think they'll be. I don't think this will change their trajectory as much. I just think there will be question marks of him when it comes down to the moments that matter in the playoffs. And then for the Timberwolves side, I really like Donte. Julius Randle, he's just kind of a black hole. Always has been a good black hole. He can score and he does it well. He's just often injured as well. So I don't love it for either side too much.
The only person I love, I think, comes out of this in a better spot is Naz Reid.
Yeah,
I think Naz Reid.
Yeah, it's a good call.
A lot of it puts a lot of faith in him, and he's played really well for them. And this gives him an opportunity. Like, yeah, you're gonna be that guy. Obviously, I think Randall will probably start over him still. But I think he could beat Randall out in summer camp and be that guy to start. But Naz Reid is. I think he's definitely one of the better up-and-coming younger players to actually do what he's got to do. So I think he's the one that benefits the most from this.
Yeah, I mean, Julius Randle, when he's on the court, I mean, has looked great and was on a really team-friendly deal for what he could have been paid. And I hate the idea of not seeing the Villanova Knicks there because I thought that would be really cool, at least to get started here. And Donte just had so many clutch shots when we needed it in the playoffs there. So that'll be something. I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns is probably one of the best big men shooters ever, right? I mean, he's won a 3-point contest.
Absolutely.
It's nuts. And that front court is with Hartenstein leaving is the biggest gap here. I still kind of don't know what to think of it. I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns to the Knicks was probably the worst kept secret in the league for years and years, and it finally happened. I'm like, oh, my first thought was we didn't give up that much, in comparison to what the Wolves gave up for Rudy Gobert, or even what we traded for Mikal Bridges. I know they're different types of players, but I question this more. I think with the Timberwolves, I know the depth is great, and if Randall can stay on the court, awesome, and shooting Donte is great at that, but Rudy Gobert is your big man up there, so it's just kind of I know when him, Cat, and Ant are on the floor together, it's been pretty good, but I'm not a Rudy Gobert fan, and there was so many on the court, even off the court, no chance, but it's just it's weird. It's a weird type of archetype player for this type of NBA, and I question that.
I think the Randall portion of going to the Timberwolves gives Ant-Man another guy that absolutely doesn't give a damn. Like, I'm going to play and I'm going to talk that talk the whole time, and I'm just that hard-nosed type player because Julius Randle is that type of player, and that's what Ant has. To Harrison's point, and I've absolutely agree with this, even though he's an Eagles fan, I think Cat is soft as hell, which is why it was one of the biggest things that Jimmy Butler, one of the reasons why he left. He was calling him soft. Like, it was, he just plays, he's a big softie, and that's fine. You can be that. Probably not on the court. It's probably not a good place to be that. But I think they want to get more alphas around Ant, because Ant wants those type of guys that don't give a damn. Like, just going to go to war and just be clutch type thing. But again, Randall's never healthy. Randall's just never healthy. That's just the biggest part.
I'll amend. I'll say I said I don't like it for both. I'm kind of just in the middle on both teams there with it.
Same.
Yeah.
I don't know if who's the winner or
it
loser
works.
yet.
Yeah. I don't think there's a winner. I think the trade works for both teams. I just don't know if it had to be made at this moment.
That's fair.
Fair.
And Cat's played for Tibbs before. I'm sure there's I'm sure at this point, to screw with the chemistry of this team, and continuity is so important in the NBA now. We've talked about that for a while now, especially with all these mega teams being put together. Like the Suns are a prime example of that, where there's just no depth or continuity anywhere.
Yeah.
I'd imagine that both teams have done their due diligence as far as Cat Tibbs go to see if this would work.
Yeah. What has worked is our Liberty beat the Aces in the first game, 87-77. Game 2 is on Tuesday, so for those that are listening on all DSPs, it'll be today. Shout out to Spike, but I'm gonna need Spike to leave my girl Kelsey alone. That don't mess with Bay. And I need Sabrina just to keep going off the way she's having such a phenomenal year. And I don't think it's getting talked about a lot because everybody was talking about the Rookie of the Year and Caitlin Clark. And I think it's overshadowed pretty much a lot of accolades. Like, it's the Rookie of the Year, Caitlin Clark conversations we talk about, and then you have somebody that it was the best player in Asia Wilson to be the MVP of the league. And I don't think it's talked about as much as Caitlin, but that's how polarizing she is. But Sabrina has absolutely been going off. So has Stewie. As I said to you both, I will say it here. If the Liberty can make it through this, they absolutely are going to win the championship. There's no doubt in my mind. But I did have a question for you, and I think maybe one of you can explain it to me. How are the Liberty playing? Is there just, it's not East against West? Is it just best against best number-wise? I was so confused by that. I was like, this is the only explanation that it could be, and I didn't feel like looking it up because I was being lazy. I was like, oh, Liberty and Ace. I saw somebody on ESPN said it was like, now the Aces face the Liberty in round 2, and I was just like, what the hell? Are they smoking something? I was like, that's not even right. Well, I guess it is. So yeah.
Yeah, they just go by records.
Okay. Very interesting.
Yeah. It was confusing at first. I was like, wait, it's not the finals already when I saw the matchup. And, I haven't watched another WNBA playoff team aside from the Liberty. So, I don't want to take too much credit there, but I was like, this doesn't make sense. But then I looked into it. It's just best record there. But
so confusing.
I know we've talked about Sabrina a lot, never enough, but
never enough.
This has been a huge series for her. And with all the Caitlin Clark talk, and you nailed it, Hayes. I mean, we were robbed of a 2020 NCAA tournament because of COVID, and that was Sabrina's senior year. I mean, for everything that Caitlin Clark has achieved and deserved, I feel like Sabrina is right in that space. And just to see where she was, and she had an injury plagued rookie year, and it's certainly come together over the last couple of years, but just seeing how just driving the lane, just creating and just big shots, and just the vibe in Brooklyn, it's just being a fan of her for so long, it's just really cool to see it all kind of piece together. And
Agreed.
The last couple games have really put a cherry on top of that. It's been so cool to watch as a fan of her and of this team, of course, but it's been fun.
Some of the best sneakers in basketball too.
Yep.
On top of that. Yeah. You mentioned records, This guy had a record-breaking year, and I don't think it was even close compared to anybody else. And I know they compared Ohtani, and at one point, the conversation was if Bobby Witt Jr. was going to be the MVP over this dude. If Aaron Judge does not win the MVP, I will personally find all the voters and I will slap all of them in a line. That's it. Because there's no way that this man finishes the season and leads all hitters in on base percentage, slugging percentage, home runs, RBIs, walks, weighted run created, fans graphs calculation of WAR. It had all of this, and there's no way that this man should not be the MVP. This man was on pace to break his own home run record. He didn't, but he was on pace to do this. Aaron Judge, we are literally watching history unfold in front of us, gentlemen. And I'm very happy that he's on our team. And I'm very happy that Arson Judge did not rear his head in this situation and that we still have Aaron Judge. So, yeah.
He's having an incredible year. And aside, like, the home runs are awesome. And he almost hit 60 again. And he would have been the third player ever, I think, to hit 60 twice. Awesome. But just everything else he's doing, it certainly helps when you have Juan Soto hitting in front of you, and Soto's having a great year too. But that's not to discredit Aaron Judge here. And this team goes as he goes, and he sets the tone. He's like, the vocal leader that Jorge Posada was, and that quiet leader that DJ was, in the same like kind of breath here. Like, just how this team like gravitates towards him is insane. It's a lot of fun to watch, and yeah, I'm just happy he's here. And let's we have that best record in American League, have the first round bye here. So let's see what happens. We could play either the Royals or the Orioles, depending on who wins that series. But it's been fun to watch. This team
didn't they have the best record in baseball?
The Dodgers ended up yeah. So okay. if both number one seeds go to the World Series, the Dodgers have home field. Yeah.
Well, I hope that happens because I'd love to see the Dodgers Yankees because we've all been asking for it for quite some time. Braves Mets doubleheader. The Mets have already taken game one. Lindor in the ninth inning hit a 2-run home run to put them back on top. Didn't get to watch any of it. Just saw that highlight, and it was pretty wild to see that. So Sam, you have this real quick so we can get through the rest of this, but you have this confusing of a paragraph for me. So break down how
I'll
these
break
guys.
It down. Yeah. Yeah, so the Diamondbacks, Braves, and Mets are all tied right now. So as if you don't know, as Monday, as we're recording here, doubleheader is happening in Atlanta. The Mets are playing the Braves. So as you mentioned, the Mets won game one. Game two is underway. If the Mets sweep, then they are the 5th seed, and the Diamondbacks are the 6th seed, and the Braves are out. And if the Braves win this next game, game two here, then the Mets are the 6th seed, the Braves are the 5th seed, and
the D-backs are out.
The D-backs are out here. So the 5th seed plays the Padres, the 6th seed plays the Brewers. The Dodgers and Phillies have a bye in the NL. Then in the American League, you just mentioned Tigers, or the Royals are the 5th seed playing the Orioles. Tigers are going to Houston, and the Yankees and the Guardians have a bye here. So,
and Orioles are tomorrow. Start their wild card tomorrow.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And so are the Brewers. So here's the other caveat here to this crazy doubleheader is that one of these teams has to play tomorrow too. So Wisconsin's not that far, but from either of these places, but still, it's not what you want after playing at least 18 innings. So.
Well, the Diamondbacks just start heading to the Milwaukee right now?
Well,
just in case.
I pray that the Braves win because I do not want the Diamondbacks in the playoffs, because if they are the type of team they get in the playoffs and they start catching heat, it could be nightmares for most teams, and they could be in the World Series. So, come on, Braves! Yeah. Very interesting game, very wild game. Bama, Georgia. I literally was watching this game and whatnot, and it was very, very interesting to me that Georgia was absolutely getting stomped. And I came on here last week and said Georgia was going to win. How wrong was I? Because I didn't realize that Bama had a 17-year-old young man that should still be in high school by the name of Ryan Williams that is making catches and moves that nobody should be making. It looks like Madden and NCAA out there, period, or college football. He is literally making video game moves out there, and it is absolutely nuts. That play that he caught, that he stopped, turned, spun, went, gone, I did not know what to do to myself. I was just like, you know what, young man, you got it. Whatever you want, you got it. And now he's being considered to be potentially the number one pick if he goes next year, because it's not going to happen this year. But if he goes next year, he will definitely be the number one offensive pick.
Can't go till he's a junior.
Okay, so there you go. So whenever he will go, he will be that person.
When he goes, barring any catastrophic injuries, he's him. He's so good,
dude. I have to admit, I turned this game off at 28-0, and then as getting updates on the score here, and it was 28-0. Like, was it the first quarter or very early in the second? And as I saw, Georgia creeping up here, I had to, make adjustments there on my viewing for the evening. But wild game, man. And all of the Jalen Milroe, man, just give him his props here too. And I mean, we touched on Carson Beck a little bit, and don't really care to talk about him right now, but Jalen Milroe was him, this weekend, and those receivers look good, and it was just, man, this game was a lot of fun, and what you expect when these two teams play each other.
Bama didn't really go anywhere, but even with losing Nick Saban, they are still right there. Obviously the best team in the country. They'll probably jump to 1. I didn't see the rankings today, but Texas was 1 and Bama was 2. No, Georgia was 2 and Bama was 4. But I think Bama should jump to 1. But yeah, Ryan Williams, not enough can be said about how amazing he is. There's a bunch of college football players that are just out of this world, and he's top of the list at 17 years old. So
yeah,
crazy.
Also, shout out to Travis Hunter for wearing a Bland shirt after Richard Sherman called him Bland on the Amon-Ra St. Brown podcast,
and hitting the Heisman pose after
and
ridiculous
hitting the
interception.
Yeah, he's absolutely nuts. Shout out to him. Do you care? I know we all care because we spoke this into existence, gentlemen. The MLB has decided, out of 2 of their changes on uniform policy for the next 2 years, taking effect next year, is the return to players wearing their primary home/away jerseys at the All-Star game. The other change is reverting back to old jerseys, increasing the size of the letters, logos, and materials that players have requested. I know we all care, so I'm not going to ask.
It's a win for the pod.
We did it.
Win for us. Yep, that's very true.
Credit here.
Very true.
Did it.
We did speak it into existence. Somebody heard us.
Michael Rubin, somebody heard us.
Somebody heard us.
Thank you.
They said, you know what? These guys are onto something. Bring it back. No, I just think it looks so much better. Those jerseys are just so stupid. Just put a dope patch. Put a dope patch on the jerseys as an all-star jersey or whatever.
On the hat.
Just do the hat. That was my favorite part, is you can buy your team's hat.
Yep.
A regular team's colors, and just had a different patch on the side. You can just wear it as long as you want and not have to do anything extra. Not these creamsicle color ass jerseys and think that it's okay. It looked like Sprite Remix out there this year. It was terrible. Shout out to Sprite Remix. I wish I had that still.
There you go. It's just like, who blindly approved this thing?
It was for the kids.
Man,
it's for the kids, man. I'm telling you, when you look at all these colorful things,
no, I get it. It's not even like the All-Star game was in Texas, like in our, like it had nothing related to like the Texas range. It was just like, it was weird, man. It was weird.
The only thing they had like cowboy theme were the socks. The socks had it looked like cowboy boots. The stitching on the socks, or the print on the socks looked like stitching on cowboy boots. That was the only thing that was like, okay, this is Texas to me. Outside of that, it just looked terrible. So just please don't do that ever again, MLB. Just leave the jerseys the way that they are and let them wear their own. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Gentlemen, before we get out of here, is there anything you would like to say? All right, cool. Sam, can you close this out?
145 in the books for Harrison and Brandon. I'm Sam. Thanks so much for listening. Tell your friends, follow us on Instagram, do all of those things. And until next time, go Birds.
Go Birds.
Cardinals suck still.
Come on, man.